Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to talk about the difference between a storyboard and a wireframe. What is it really? Because there's a little bit of a confusion between the two, and I wanted to help you clarify this, at least from our point of view here and how we use it, how we use the two here in Relab. I'll give you examples of what they are. And to do this clearly, I'm hoping to sketch on my iPad, so as usual, let's jump into it. So first of all, let's talk about a storyboard. What is it really? I'll give you an example of how we would do a storyboard because that's probably easier for you to understand. So the way we would do a storyboard is really, we start with a user flow, or we build a storyboard for it to serve a specific purpose, or at least in the digital product design practice that we do, storyboards are used as user interface flows at the end of the day. We need to be able to create relationships between interfaces that we know what leads to, what interface leads to another, and that's what we call a storyboard. So a storyboard, I'll just draw a really simple version of this. So be gentle on me, okay, guys? The first one is, I'll just pretend like I'm gonna do a mobile app here, okay? So the way we do it is we outline the steps that we would like to cover in a storyboard. So let's pretend this is a post-it, and let's just say this is a dashboard. And the next step is probably I'm gonna do a football academy app here, which is one of the pro bono projects that we're doing at the moment. A dashboard, a fixture page, and let's say we've got fixture detail, or match detail, whatever you wanted to call it. And we might want to do another one that's an events list. We've got event detail, and so on and so forth. Obviously, you could do a couple of other pages as well. This is almost like a simple sitemap, contact. But I'll just do this as an example, right? But because we don't have a lot of space here, I might just remove this one and focus on these interfaces here. So what we want to do in a storyboard is we wanted to create interfaces that belongs to these items that or these pages, or these page templates that we've outlined here. So as a dashboard, what we would do is a very, very low fidelity sketch of what a dashboard might look like. I won't get into the details of this, and I'll just do one example for you later on. But let's just say it's got that. It's got a little bit of a menu thing going on here, perhaps a banner, a couple of buttons, and so on and so forth. And what we like to do in a storyboard as well is we like to outline what are these things and create a little bit of a label for them, for these elements, so we know what to design as we wireframe later on. So we usually start a storyboard before we wireframe. I'm just scribbling here, but I'll give you an example, right? So essentially, I'm gonna do this to all of my other pages that I've outlined in its own ways. And we're gonna create a relationship from one to another. So let's say from here, this goes there, and that goes there, that goes there, and so on and so forth. So in the real world, what happens is you've got a storyboard that is way bigger than what I've drawn here. And depending on the scope of the project or what you wanted to focus on in this activity, but usually it creates a relationship between different interfaces in low fidelity sketches like this. And that's what we call a storyboard, right? So I'll give you an example of what a finished storyboard might look like for, let's say, this dashboard over here. So I'll just divide this page into two. So let's just say the dashboard. So you want to get into details, but not too much that doesn't actually take up your time, because storyboarding could last forever if you don't control your time well. What I want to do is just sketch that it's clear enough for myself or my design team to be able to get into the tools, whether it's Figma or XD or whatever you use, and be able to clearly map out the wireframe or the design that you like. So for example, I'm going to do some hamburger menu here. I'm going to do an icon that might be a logo over here. I'm going to leave some space here for a banner. I can think of a couple of other interfaces like some cards as well. This might be fixtures, fixture 1, or match. Let's just call it match. Match 1, let's match number 2. Maybe date using our format here, date, month, year, date, month, year. So I'm not being too particular. I'm not overthinking it as well. Match might be, I might want to even like create an explanation of what goes in here. Match card, match card, team logos. This area right here at the back, let's just say hero image. I can even specify this as a generic hero image. And then we've got another row down here. Let's just say this is going to be featured event. Right. So this is not final, but it gives you an idea of what goes into the interface. And I can even specify here for my team, or just note, link to unique event page. Right. Basically, you're just trying to remove questions as the designer would go into their tools. So this, I would say, app logo, mobile, nav, or navigation. So essentially, you're doing this type of sketch for all of the other interfaces that you're doing within the storyboard. So as you can imagine, because you're thinking as you're doing this, you might take a little bit of time. We usually allow almost like a day to storyboard, or at least half a day to cover the different interfaces that we wanted to cover. As soon as you're finished with the storyboard, you will end up with somewhat a simple blueprint for you to be able to go into your design tool, your digital design tool, whether it's Figma or XD, as I was saying earlier, or Sketch, and be able to start designing your wireframe or your visual design, but with a lot more clarity rather than not storyboarding, because you would have already mapped it out in your sketch, in your mural, or in your whiteboard, notebook, whatever you use, or iPad, but it gives you a lot more clarity and it saves so much more time. So that's what a storyboard is. Now, what is a wireframe? Let's jump into my computer here, and I'll show you what a wireframe will look like. All right, so this is what our typical wireframe would look like. This one's done in Figma. It's interactive. So in a similar theme to the storyboard that I did earlier in the sketch. Sorry, not in Sketch, but in the sketch that I did in the iPad. This was that Football Academy app. So as you can see, a wireframe is a lot more detailed here. It has a little bit more information and even context, depending on whether you're going high or low fidelity. But in the next few videos, I'm gonna do another video about high fidelity versus low fidelity wireframes and what they look like. This is a high fidelity version. You could interact with it. You could scroll on these fixtures or match cards. After sketching, the team has given a little bit more thought and dropped in, Gladstone Park as a location. The 2 team logos, even like put in a placeholder team name here, or a football team name. Date, time, and so on and so forth. Upcoming events. Also, like, there are a few cards in here, and as you develop your design further, there are more interfaces and ideas that comes in. If it wasn't covered in the storyboard, that's completely fine. It's part of the process as you're doing it on your tools. Sometimes as a team or individually, you might think of another idea that you'll drop in. But this is what a wireframe will look like from our perspective. And this is interactive because you could click on it. It almost feels like a real application, and you can send it to your phone and test it as well. But as you can see, there's a lot more details to it. It gives users or stakeholders a clear idea of what the product is without having to get into the design elements yet. When I say design elements, I'm talking about fonts, colors, imagery, and stuff like that. The aesthetics that makes the app look beautiful and themed. This is just a black and white blueprint of an app. Anyway, I'll leave it there, but hopefully that explains the difference between a storyboard and a wireframe. Obviously, with wireframes, you don't have to do it as high fidelity as this example that I'm showing you here. You could just do a skeleton version of a wireframe without too much details in it. That's also completely fine. But a wireframe, in my experience, works really well when it's interactive, when you allow users to test it and be able to, play around with it a little bit, because that gives them an idea of the interaction rather than just viewing it in a static screen. All right, so hopefully that's clear. If you do have any questions around this, please drop in your comments and I'll be sure to answer them. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, by the way, please do so. I really appreciate it. This channel has been growing quite a bit, and so I really appreciate your views and for you to share it to your friends as well, or colleagues, or anyone who you find is going to benefit from it. I appreciate it. All right, I'll see you around. Bye.